Alright, fair economics video. Yay. Response video to Anti-Bullshit-Man, mostly kind of. Was going to put this on the Amendum channel because I'm sort of distracted by a real big picture kind of view that would incorporate not only our economics but even our moral philosophy into this idea of an economics, into a, how do you get the most value, the most, happy, sentient life at the lowest cost in terms of unhappy, sentient life, and how do you create a system that does that? And it's sort of the same rules apply. I mean, you want to create fairness and incentives, and you want to take advantage of that desire mechanism and all that other crap. But anyway, getting to his video, I'll just do the economics part here because yeah, they really are two separate subjects, right? But they're not really. Anyway, didn't care for his videos much, to tell you the truth. The charts were nice, but and then he made an argument kind of defending that the experiments have been done and the proof is there and anybody can look at it and see it, and it's just obvious, and all the incidental circumstances are irrelevant, and it's not really true. So I think that's sort of a bullshit argument. I mean, I completely agree with his underlying theme that tax cuts for the rich are fail, but I don't know if you can prove it with the experiments done, because the way the experiments were done, there's too many other things happening at the same time. I mean, the same time we were cutting taxes on the rich, we were soaking the middle class on their Social Security taxes. So there's all these other variables that just screw up looking at these broad economic indicators and saying, here's the evidence that it failed. It would fail more dismally if it wasn't for the other factors, but they do cloud the water. You can't deny it. Look, the bottom, well, there's so many bottom lines. I mean, the key argument is that we tax interest income at a lower rate than we tax work. And that's just stupid. It's inevitably going to make the rich richer. So the idea of giving rich people tax breaks when you're going to create a deficit, especially, okay, I mean, these aren't tax breaks that you're going to pay for. These aren't tax breaks and then you cut spending somewhere. These are tax breaks that create deficits. And who owns the deficit? The very rich people you gave a tax break to. So, in essence, what you have done is deferred their taxes. I mean, they have to be paid someday, right? The IOUs do have to be paid, don't they, theoretically? I mean, it would be really stupid to, pay a premium price, like rent or something, forever. I mean, rent is unproductive, right? People can understand how over time you'll pay 3 or 4 times the price of a house only because you don't have the down payment. And deficits do the same thing. Over time you'll pay 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 or 15 or however long we live. If you never pay the money back, you'll pay interest for a long time. Those World War II tanks, yeah, we're paying about $17 million a piece for them. Yeah, it's just stupid. There's no rationality to it. And it's especially irrational now, because now you're giving tax breaks, so you're deferring taxes on these rich people. So they're not going to have to pay their tax this year or next year or the year after that. And so they get to keep the money invested, and they have it invested in U.S. bonds. So they're collecting interest on the deficit not paying their taxes created. I mean, it's a double kick in the vagina or balls. I mean, it's nonsensical right on its face. It fails right there. There's just no way that can work. And there's no way in the long term, if you keep taxing interest income at a lower rate than you tax work, that workers won't decline and interest holders increase in terms of their ownership. It's just inevitable. So yeah, right there, it's the game over. Alright, the thing that really bothered me about this video was this statement he made about communism. We have the evidence. We did the experiment. As far as I know, there's only been 2 or 3 experiments done, and they were completely corrupt experiments. I mean, it's kind of silly to talk about even the rhetoric he used, the failure of communism. The failure was built on what do you think? Do you think Russia would have crashed when it crashed? Like the crash was inevitable. It wasn't Afghanistan. It wasn't the fact that the America was financing terrorists to cost the Russians an incredible amount of money and lives um, in Afghanistan that didn't have something to do with pushing Russia over the edge. Come on. And I'm not defending the Russian system at all. Yeah, that was a failed experiment because of the corruption. But the idea of communism. Now, what is communism? I mean, even that is hard to say, isn't it? Um, is there some blueprint that this is communism? That this is the only thing that can be communism is this Russian thing or this Cuban thing, and there's no other definitions of communism. And the Cuban thing, I mean, that's not really, you can't call that a fair experiment. 30, 40, 50 years of sanctions. What would Cuba be like if they were allowed to be a fair tourist attraction? If they could keep all the industries, their cigars and the rest of the stuff, they could sell them freely in the world. I mean, that's kind of a bogus argument. So anyway, yeah, and the argument I would make about it is in my opinion, if you have something that's, my opinion, the thing that capitalism is built on is the capitalist. Okay, so my argument is if the opposite of capitalist would be communist, right? Okay, so you don't use capitalist to finance your industry, you use some controlled economy. You use public money to finance industry, and that's where I don't see any liability in that. Capitalists provide no function. They're just middlemen. That's all capitalists are, and they're stealing a huge amount of the value of the economy. They're just resellers. They don't do anything for us, and they certainly don't invest their money in the public interest. They invest it in their own personal interest, and that's how you create Enrons, and that's how you create a bunch of preposterous waste, and that's how you create industries that are more focused on marketing and selling and less focused on giving a damn about whether the consumer got something of value. So I mean, now, like, there's lots of little things like this, but just because I'm into the digital camera thing, you can see it. Like, companies built cameras, right? And they're really only a 6 megapixel camera, but they'll advertise it as 10 megapixels because it has software interpolation or whatever. And so, but it's a complete lie. I mean, all it means is they just blow the image up and the quality sucks. There's tons of them advertising HD, and it's not really HD. They say it's 30 or frames a second. No, it's really 15 frames a second. So they're just lying through their teeth. They sell these products and they're crap. It's because they can do it. They can get away with it, okay? Because the public's not going to call them on it. And by the time they do call them on it, it's too late. They've already been fucked. All right. I mean, there's just so many examples you can give of how capitalists spend their money is not in the public interest. And it does create these monopoly industries. I mean, Google's a good example. Google's basically the Hearst example all over again. They gave away the stuff for free for 3 or 4 years, for free, took everybody else out of the business, okay? Wiped out InfoSeek, wiped out AltaVista, just wiped out everybody else because nobody, how can you compete with somebody who's giving it the fuck away? And even Microsoft, everybody just got out of the business because, yeah, how do you compete with the guy giving it away? Pretended they were all friendly and fluffy and our best friend. And then they, snapped the trap, put ads on every website on the internet. And now we have this corporation who claims to be interested in us, okay, making huge profits off of us, cluttering everything with a marketing interest, encouraging people to basically corrupt their own websites full of spam text and spam content to... because it's all about clicks and money, and it's disgusting. I mean, it was just a disgusting sham. If Microsoft had done it, we would have hung Bill Gates, but because these little Google punk fuckers did it, everything's okay. Just incredible ripoff, incredibly inefficient. They're not indexing the internet, they're marketing the internet, and we've just been totally shammed. So anyway, I mean, the capitalist, selfish, greedy bastard interest is not the public interest, and we can, you know, there's no brain surgery to what capitalists are doing. Okay, what do? They say, here, some money. Okay, hire people, run a business, compete with that guy over there, and I think you can cut the price and make a profit. That's all they're doing. So I mean, we can do that. We can set up industries. The problem in the past has been is we've allowed the unions, the public workers, to destroy those companies, to have too much say in how the companies are run, and that's destroyed them because they're not competing in a free or fair market. They're competing in some rigged system where they have privilege, and instead of earning it, they cheat, and that fucks the system. So what the government has to do is finance it a different way. But I think you can have communist rules that are very simple. Create a company that's not for profit. Okay, you just say nobody can make more than $200,000 a year. Nobody can make less than $30,000 a year for 8 hours work. There's your rules. Now run your company. You put somebody in charge and you make him accountable. If he doesn't run the company well, you fire the fuck. Not that complicated. It's not brain surgery. We don't need these owners who keep taking a profit out of the business. And that's what you gotta understand. You're paying for these assholes. These rich people are not free. Their profit comes out of your pocket. And then there's the whole racket of bankruptcy, okay, like the Enrons and such. And so these risk takers, these capitalists, they call themselves rich risk takers. They're not risking the real risk. The real risk is that, yeah, you kill some people and you're liable for that recklessness. The real risk is you create an Enron, you don't pay your bills, okay, you got huge liabilities, and you walk the fuck away. You say, no, you can only take $10 from me. You can't take any more. Well, why can't I? You financed the business. You created the liability. You profited off the liability for 2 years. Why the hell shouldn't I go into your house and take your fucking goddamn, golden chalice or whatever the hell else you got? It's your creation. You're responsible for it. But we gave these companies limited liability. We gave them this out of bankruptcy where they can just say, nope, can't touch any of my other capital. I'm not responsible, even though I financed it, even though I created it, even though my ventureness, my risk-taking made it. I'm not responsible, and we should at least have an inheritance tax that pays for all bankruptcy liability, because that's the real risk of irresponsible business, and they should pay that real liability. And that's the big sham. You can inherit the profits of capital exploitation, but somehow you don't inherit the liabilities? No, not right. That's broken. And that can be seen. You don't need a chart to see that. You don't need charts to see unfairness and stupidity and waste. You don't need charts to indicate or understand that rich people don't spend money as wisely as poor people. Poor people invest in infrastructure, in things we all use, in mass production of products that average the masses will have advantage in using. Rich people gold plate toilets, they marble floors, they buy yachts that only 5 people ever sail on in a year. Preposterous waste of human labor. That human labor could have been devoted to a Hoover Dam or some other constructive, productive, socially beneficial project. Instead, it's just squandered and wasted, carving dinosaurs out of their bushes in the front yard or some other kind of bullshit. $2 million birthday parties. Preposterous wastes of money that create no real value to the average citizen. And so it's just easily condemned as waste, and that's what it is. There's no value in being a servant to a king. That doesn't make your society better. It just doesn't. What makes your society better is investments in your real world, in your real town, in your real state, in your real country, not investments in the gluttony of some rich pig. That's wasted work. Polishing somebody's toenails is wasted fucking work. Alright. So let's see what else. He got under capital punishment, which I thought was kind of bogus. There's not a whole lot of people arguing that capital punishment, the purpose of it is to deter crime. No, the purpose of it is to put down rabid, sick fucking dogs. Okay, dirty, rotten, stinking pieces of crap. The purpose is to stop running a malicious, broken, crazy, virus-ridden computer. However you want to analogize it, but the purpose is to take a hammer and smash a piece of crap and shit and blight. It's a blight remover. And it's very effective at removing blight. So I don't think that's really the argument. I think logically we can see that it probably can't hurt as a deterrent, because there are some criminals who do beg not to be killed. They do try to stay alive. So I guess it scares, the idea of dying does scare some of these mass murderers. So it couldn't hurt to whack a few of them hard to create some extra deterrence. But why should a society, when we know the asshole's guilty, it's done and said, why should they waste money keeping the fucker alive in a cage? It's not even, it's cruel to the fucking lunatic crazy fuck, and it's a waste of social resources. Anyway, that seems like a completely side subject, but it was in his video, so what the hell? Alright, yeah, so again, tax cuts separated from deficits is the key thing. It's the creation of deficits that's the real evil here. It's not a free tax cut. It doesn't matter how much it stimulates the economy. Right, you can do it right now. Everybody knows you can live really well on a credit card for a few years. You can do it for maybe 10 years. Maybe you can do it even for 20 years. But sooner or later, that is a house of cards and it will fall. Okay, you can't sustain it. And so it wouldn't matter. Obviously, if you inject a bunch of money into the economy by cutting taxes, the money goes into the stock market, everybody gets a perception that they're richer, but there's no real value because it's fake money, it's borrowed money. All right, it has strings attached to it. So it's nonsense to even talk about the value of a stimulus that's artificial, that's made out of nothing, that's just hot air, or however you want to analogize it, but it's fake stimulus. It'll have a whiplash if it's made out of deficits. And obviously you can't stimulate the economy if you cut government spending to finance the tax cuts, because then you're creating more unemployment, and so you're back in the same boat. So whatever employment you create through your stimulus, you're gonna lose it, because you're going to have to sacrifice all the employment that you're going to have to cut out of the government. So that's not going to work either. And whatever consumption you're going to tighten the screws on consumption, so your stock market's going to go down because of the screws being tightened on consumption. So it's an artificial notion that there's any such thing as a stimulus that you don't have to pay for, and we keep pretending we never have to pay it back. And that's just idiotic. And that's sort of, I guess, the point that's got to be re-emphasized. It has to be paid back, or else you have to destroy the value of the currency. The only other way to pay it back is to create the tax of inflation. And that's what they've chosen to do. They're going to destroy your currency to oblige you to pay the money back. Your income won't go up, but the prices of everything you buy will go up, and so you are fucked, because you're going to have to pay it back through a reduction in the buying power of your dollar. Yeah, there's just so many examples of the brokennesses in the system. You know, these rich people can own land, and they don't have to pay property taxes on it. You know, they just call it a tree farm. You know, it just keeps land out of the market. They hold it. They take advantage of increasing property values, make free profits. It's just stupid. Yeah, oblige them to pay property taxes, then they won't want to hold the land. Then land will be cheaper, then people can live on it cheaper. I mean, there's just so many ways that capitalists just ruin our lives. These interest whores are totally destructive. They're just middlemen. That's all they are. They're exploitinous. Capitalism is exploitinism. That's all it is. Their interest isn't in creating efficient production. Their interest is in gleaning as much profit through whatever mechanism possible out of your pocket. And that's all they care about. They don't care about your quality of life, the quality of life on planet Earth. They don't care about even, as I stated, the efficiency of our production. That's not their incentive. Their incentive is merely to get more stuff, more of your stuff, more of your labor, more of your possessions in their pocket. Alright, I think that's probably enough of a video. Yeah, so whatever. Yeah, I like Anti-Bullshit-Man, and we probably agree on, 94.7% of this economics crap. But yeah, the tone of this video just seemed a little, I don't know, not focused. Yeah, even though it was really highly focused, it was just highly focused on the wrong thing. Capitalists suck. Okay, that's all you got to say. Capitalists suck. Greed sucks. Inheritance privilege sucks. It's all bad. You don't pay people to sit on their ass. You don't pay people to own something. That's just bullshit. Yeah, if you've collected surplus, well, yeah, your surplus should retain its value. It shouldn't increase in value. I've made this point before. But if you own a silo of wheat, you should have no expectation that your silo of wheat just expands and expands and expands and expands. No, you should have the expectation that I've put a silo of wheat away, and next year it'll be a silo of wheat. It won't be 2 silos of wheat. It won't be 3. It'll be 1. And the only way it can multiply in value is it has to come out of somebody else's ass. Okay? For that silo to grow, somebody else has to fill it. Alright? So understand, that's what these fuckers are doing to you. They're pulling it out of you and putting it in their surplus pile. And now the next time it grows, it's going to grow even faster, even more, because now they have a silo and a half. And so the next year they're going to expect 3/4 of a growth. And then the next year they'll have 2 silos. Then it'll be twice as much as you're going to be your bill. They're just going to keep increasing your fucking rent. Alright? And that's what's happening in our economy. The rich have gotten preposterously richer, and it's come out of the middle class and the poor. There's just no other equation. That's the equation. So wise up and spit on a capitalist. Yeah, good enough. Till next time.